Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to America once again. We're going to go to the northeast of the country, to New England, to the state of Massachusetts, and the city of Charlton to be specific. And some of you might know that that happens to be home to one of the iconic New England hazy IPA type breweries. So we're going to have a look at yet another beer from Treehouse Brewing. If memory serves me correctly, this is about review number 8 that I've done from these guys, and this time we have a beer that is very, very highly rated. So this one is the King Julius. It comes in at 8.2% ABV, and this is another New England hazy type IPA, however you want to call it. And basically this is the big brother version of their original Julius, which is 6.8% normally, and a single New England IPA. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. This beer is ridiculously highly rated when it comes to Untappd. Actually, I think it's 4.7 if I remember rightly. So this is a beer that has, you know, widespread kind of critical acclaim. I've had a lot of beers on the channel that have had, you know, such acclaim, but I don't think any that I've had has had quite such a high rating on Untappd. And as I've always said, you know, you take the peer reviewing sites with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because, you know, beer is always subjective. Different people like different things, but when the beer has such a high rating, it's quite difficult to get above around, you know, 4.2, 4.3 normally. So when this one's got 4.7, I think that is something that makes it stand out a little bit actually. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. A massive thank you and shout out once again to Chris Contreras, who's an American guy currently living in Belgium. Over the years he's sent me a ridiculous number of American beers, and I think actually the Treehouse beers are the ones that he's sent me most of actually. He sent me a good couple of Trilliums and things, but I think this is about the 8th beer or so that he sent me from Treehouse actually. I've never bought a Treehouse beer myself. All the Treehouse stuff I've had has been from Chris actually, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, massive thank you to Chris once again for making this review possible, and a lot of the American reviews you're seeing at the moment are thanks to him, because he's you know, he brings me back beers to Europe from his travels over there with his work, which is obviously hugely appreciated. And this time he's sent me quite a few West Coasters this time as well, which is very nice. So yeah, awesome. Thank you to Chris once again for this one, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer and the other ones that he's given me. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Treehouse Brewing before, and you will see another beer reviewed from these guys quite shortly. Beyond that, I'm not sure, we'll need to see. But I will be heading to New England next summer, COVID permitting, so maybe we can do an out and about review at their bar actually. Maybe we can sort out some interviews as well. That would be awesome actually. But yeah, there's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to very regularly. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Treehouse Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've mentioned to you already, Treehouse Brewing are based in Charlton in Massachusetts, which is about halfway between Hartford in Connecticut to the kind of southwestish, and Boston, Massachusetts, which is up to the northeast. But this company was founded by 4 friends back in 2011. So this is Dean Rowan, Nate Lanier, Damien Goudreau, and Jonathan Weisbach. So Dean has a background as a plumber, Jonathan is a graphic designer, and Damien co-owns and runs a gym, while Nate was a construction manager. But these guys homebrewed together from around 2008 in Nate's kitchen, and then they moved to a small 2.5 acre farm in Brimfield, which had a treehouse on the edge of it, and that was what would inspire the name of the brewery. So the brewery continued to grow over the coming years, but they moved in 2013 to Corran Farm in Monson, which was owned by one of the founders' families, and it was there that they expanded their capacity. They went from 150 to 900 gallons per brew, which is 570 litres to 3,400 litres for those of us who are sensible and use the metric system. But they also opened up a tap room at this site as well, and that was the first time that the beers were available on site from Treehouse Brewing Company. But in 2016 they bought land in Charlton, and they planned the construction of a 53,000 square foot or 5,000 square metres, metric again. They built this big brewery there, and this went on to open in May of 2017, and this can produce 60,000 US barrels, which is 9.5 million litres of beer per year. So the previous site at Monson is now home to their barrel aging programme, from what I understand, and over the last few years they've added a larger kind of outdoor space and another mezzanine level inside of the brewery to give people more room to come and visit, because obviously these guys are a very, very well respected brewery, and a lot of people travel there to buy and try the beers. But in 2019 they also purchased a farm in Woodstock in Connecticut, and apparently they are going to, once they get this place fully up and running, I think it's taken a bit of a delay because of the whole COVID-19 situation, but they are planning to experiment further with barrel aging there, and also a little bit with open fermentation, some sour beers and things actually. So that'll be a very interesting development when Treehouse get that kind of fully operational. From what I understand, there is quite a lot of work it's still going into that at the moment. But it's Nate who is the head brewer, and according to Untappd, these guys have produced around 260 different kinds of beer as of October 2020. When I opened up the notes actually, I noticed that my last reviews that I did from Treehouse were last year, just pretty much a year ago actually. It said October 2019, and I noticed it said 280 beers, but when I checked Untappd again this year, it said 260. So I'm not sure why the number of beers would have gone down. So maybe there's double entries and stuff like this, and Untappd have kind of changed the rules or something like that. But yeah, the number of beers that I noticed from Treehouse had gone down this year compared to last year when I last reviewed something from these guys. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Treehouse Brewing Company for the moment. These guys are one of the very, very well respected New England hazy IPA breweries, along with like Trillium, Alchemist, and I guess you can say Hill Farmstead as well. There are other breweries, of course, that are very, very popular in the region, and yeah, when I make it out to America next year, COVID permitting, fingers crossed, hopefully you can see a few more of the beers being reviewed here on the channel. Actually, we will try and pick up a few things from different breweries. There's lots of really good breweries up there. I mean, in Connecticut you've got Kent Falls, I'm trying to think who else I've had. There's Lawson's Finest Liquids. You will see me review a couple of their beers quite soon as well. Actually, there's Allagash. There's a ridiculous number of very, very good breweries in the New England area now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going out there and doing a little bit of out and about filming. Actually, that's going to be really fun. But yeah, if you want to learn more about Treehouse Brewing Company, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this beer before we open it up. There you can see, again, very, very nicely presented, this one. This is the typical artwork that you'll find on the Treehouse beers. So there you can see that little white bit, that is the Treehouse symbol. Just let the camera focus on that a little bit. But yeah, what you get with these Treehouse beers is they all tend to be the same colour, but they just have, different, slightly different artworks. The stouts, if I'm remembering rightly, the stouts that you get from these guys do have slightly different artwork. It's the IPAs that all have this kind of almost like Whomping Willow type Treehouse artwork on them. But yeah, an 8.2% New England double IPA. This can is 1 American pint, which is 473 millilitres in normal people metric measurements. I always make fun of the American measurement system, cups and quarts and all of this kind of things. It just doesn't make sense. Use the metric system. It uses water as its basis, the universal solvent. Come on. But yeah, I had a comment, I always complain about that in the American reviews, but I had a comment that I really liked, and I can't remember who it was, but they said, oh no, we're not changing, we like our freedom units, just, taking the piss. But yeah, no, I quite like that. But yeah, I never understand the American measurement system. But in fairness, when I was at school in Scotland, we had to learn both the British imperial system and the metric system. So when it came to science class and stuff, we used the metric system only. But when you do distances and things like that, you still talk about miles when you're driving around in Scotland, and miles per hour and stuff, and people still go to the butchers and use pounds and ounces and things. But yeah, whenever you measure something for furniture, it's always centimetres, so it's different stuff for different things. So, you know, it's probably a bit hypocritical for me to take the mick out of the American system, but you know, there you go. In Sweden, here in Sweden, it is all metric system, and it makes much more sense, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, as you can see with this one, this is poured as you would expect. If we shine the light through this one is very, very soupy and gloopy. It's not the soupiest and gloopiest that I've come across, right enough. I have seen ones that are even thicker than this, but you know, the level of haze you get out of this is pretty damn impressive. You can see that the beer poured with about a quarter finger of a kind of white, frothy white head, and that is fading away to just be a very, very kind of thin foamy layer there. It looks very, very nice. But yeah, in terms of the colour of this beer, we'll compare it to the fruit juices as we always do. This one actually reminds me a little bit of a kind of peach juice, but the colour of this one isn't a million miles away from the lighter orange that we have on the label there. It is almost the same kind of colour as that. But yeah, definitely a kind of peach juice type colour, this one. It's not light enough to be like pineapple juice, and it's not bright and yellow enough to be mango juice in terms of its colour. But yeah, definitely more of a kind of peachy kind of colour, this one actually. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and that head is just has a very nice kind of thin foamy haze sitting on the top there. But I mean, overall this does look pretty damn nice, I have to say. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see the level of haze that this beer has. Pretty impressive. As I've always told you before, when it comes to these New England beers, the further that you go up the alcohol scale, the more oats, the more wheat that you have in them, therefore you get more haze. It's just kind of logical. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma of this one then and see how we get on. Nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider what style it is. You know, we expect this kind of thing from the New England IPAs. But yeah, this one smells absolutely lovely. You can smell with this. The thing with this beer, if you take it in a bit more deeply, you can tell, yeah, this one's a bit boozier. But if you're a little bit far away from it, you know, it doesn't smell that boozy at all. And that's one of the things with some of these New England IPAs. Some of them can be stupidly drinkable. And I think the West Coast IPAs, to be honest, they were a bit better in, like, you know, yeah, this is a West Coast IPA. The New England ones are so, in a lot of cases, are so drinkable that, you know, that it's dangerously drinkable actually. Yeah, it's one of the things that always surprised me in America. A lot of these breweries are in the middle of nowhere, and in the States you need to drive a car pretty much everywhere. So you do get people that go to these breweries, drink a few double IPAs, and then they drive home. For me, that's just mental. Usually for us, it's you go to the you take the bus or something to the brewery, you stay late, and then you stagger home. That's normally what happens. But yeah, it amazes me that, you know, people will drink these and then drive in the States. It's craziness. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of this is nice. You can, if you take the aroma in a bit more deeply, you can smell this as a slightly more boozy New England, but it's very, very light and juicy at the same time. So for me, this one leans, yeah, as is the case with the other Treehouse ones that I've had, I've always found that the Treehouse beers are a bit more oaty leaning. The Trillium ones, for example, are a wee bit more wheaty and bitey for me. But yeah, you've got a lovely big kind of smooth oatiness out of this one. And when you take the aroma in a bit more deeply, you do get a little bit more of that kind of wheaty bitiness. That's quite common when it comes to the boozier New Englands, if you like, from the boozier Treehouse ones that I've had. They do come across a bit more wheaty, and they are a bit more bitter usually when they're a bit boozier as well. So yeah, you really get a very nice oaty creaminess out of this one. The wheat is quite smooth. It's not the most pungent of wheats that I've come across in this style of beer. You do get a little bit of a kind of biscuity note out of this one, a wee bit of a kind of McVitie's Digestive sort of thing, and it's almost a little bit kind of oily and slightly butter candied like. But I would say, compared to the Scandinavian and English and Scottish New England IPAs that I've had recently, this one does smell significantly more kind of bready. I've noticed that the style in Europe has evolved a little bit to be a bit more kind of brown sugary and almost like butter candy like. It does have a bit of that element in it these days over here, but this one is definitely more old school and bready in my mind. This is kind of the ones, these are quite similar to the ones that we would have had in Europe maybe sort of 2016, 2017. It's a bit more old school in that sense. So yeah, good little bit of white bread to this one, lovely big oaty creaminess which dominates the malty side of the beer in my mind, a little bit of wheaty smoothness but also a little bit of wheaty bitiness, wee bit of biscuit, and also a wee touch of just that, there's a wee tiny touch of that kind of butter candy, Werther's Original type thing out of this one. So yeah, but you can smell it is a wee touch boozy, this one. You do get a little bit of that out of it. On the hoppy side of things then, the green side of the hops for me, it's actually quite well balanced. When you take it in deeply, there's a lovely big floral aromaticity to it, a little bit of lighter grassiness in there, and you can also pick out a wee bit of earthiness as well, which is quite nice. The earthiness I think is quite minimal. I'm trying to remember if Mosaic is one of the hops that's in the original Julius. I honestly can't remember. But yeah, the wee touch of earthiness that the beer has makes me think so, and I do get a little bit of a kind of tangerine orange out of this one. But for me, the green side of this beer is more floral and aromatic rather than anything. I think that's what really dominates the green side of the hops in this beer. But it does have a nice bit of lighter grassiness to it as well, in fairness. And that suits the fruity side of this beer. The fruits are lovely and juicy in this one. So yeah, this one comes across very, very nicely. I've got a feeling there's something inside me that wants to say this is maybe Citra and Mosaic, or maybe Simcoe and Mosaic actually. I think it's definitely the more old school hops that are in this. I don't think it's got some of the new kind of crazy ones like Galaxy or Idaho 7 or something. I'm pretty sure this is like Simcoe and Citra, or maybe a little bit of Mosaic. The more that I smell of this one, I become a little bit less convinced about Mosaic. I always like playing guess the hops with these beers, but the more that I smell of this, the more it starts to lean towards the soft tropical side of things, and the more oily orangey notes kind of disappear. So I'm not sure about this one actually. Not sure about exactly what hops are in this, but it's definitely some of the old school ones. It's like, yeah, Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic. I think it's some kind of combination of those three that we have in this. But yeah, the aroma of this one is lovely on the fruity side of things. So you do get a wee touch of that kind of more pungent passion fruity note to it. There's definitely a good bit of a lighter mango coming out of the beer, and you also have you've got some lighter kind of apricot-y papaya type notes out of it too. But the fruity side for me is very kind of juicy. The more I'm smelling it again, and I'm starting to get more of a kind of more oily tangerine orange in there, which does make me think there might be a little touch of Mosaic in this one. So yeah, this one there is a bit of oranginess to this one. I think there's something that's just telling me there is Mosaic in this. Yeah, nice little bit of an oily orange further forward on the nose, but yeah, soft mangoes, a little bit of that apricot-y papaya type note, and also a wee touch of a little touch of that kind of more pungent-y passion fruity note. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this beer, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma. It comes across very nicely. This strikes me as quite an old school, and it's strange to say that about a New England IPA. This one strikes me as a more old school, bready New England double IPA, this one. But yeah, let's have a taste of this then and see how we get on. This one is the King Julius, coming in at 8.2% ABV, a New England double hazy IPA, however you want to call it, from Treehouse Brewing Company based in Charlton in Massachusetts, out to the west of Boston. Over in New England in America. Huge thank you to Chris once again for making this review possible. Let's get stuck in. Sláinte Skål. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a really very nice beer once again. It's, for me, trying these things, trying these kind of treehouse ones, I think it's really nice because, for me, these guys, of course, are one of the sort of original, can we say, purveyors of the style. These are one of the guys who really kicked off the whole New England thing. And trying these beers, for me, it really is a comfort, because you see that the likes of Stigbergets and OO and Brewski and who else have we got? We've got Apex, we've got 10 Hands these days, these Swedish breweries that I'm drinking every day, and then Overtone at home in Glasgow in Scotland, and then the Danish breweries, Gamma, Dry and Bitter, Amar. It's really a comfort to try these ones, because you see, when you try these original ones, which are very, very highly rated, and then you have your local ones as well, which are of the same standard, it's really comforting actually. So yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, for me this is really quite nice, and that's the main thing that I like taking away from these. It's really comforting to see that the local breweries that I have over here in Scandinavia and back home in Scotland. You know, they're producing stuff that is of the same standard as this, I think. But yeah, this is really nice actually. Again, it's very smooth and very drinkable. I've always found that with these treehouse beers, I really find them very, very smooth, and it's, to be honest, for an 8.2%er, that's stupidly smooth actually. It's very, I find this one really drinkable actually. So yeah, where to start with this beer then? So straight away, the middle of your palate is just blanketed with that kind of crisp, smooth, bready kind of quality. You get that white bready note blanket in the middle third of your tongue and the back third of your palate, and that's really nice. You can feel one or two more grainy elements coming out of this beer the further you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, on the back third of your tongue you can feel a slightly thicker element to the wheaty side of the beer, which is quite nice. You can feel the thickness of that just kind of pushing its way up. So yeah, the back third of the palate does feel a bit thicker, but as you move into the middle third of your tongue, it kind of just thins out a little bit. As I see, you've got that crisp white bready base to it, but you also get the nice kind of oaty creaminess, and you might notice one or two little biscuity notes coming out of the beer as well. But I think the middle, the malty side of the palate in this one is quite it is very, very bready leaning for me, and as I said, the style has evolved a little bit. Even in the last year, I think, since I last had some of these treehouse beers, I'd say that the Scandinavian ones really have gotten a little bit more brown sugary and sweet actually. And yeah, the key example would be this one, the Hey Femme from Dry and Bitter. This is where I really started to notice this trend in the Scandinavian ones. So yeah, that's definitely something. So yeah, those of you watching in the States, Dry and Bitter Brewing Company from Copenhagen, they've got some awesome New England IPAs as well. But yeah, this to me, this strikes me as very kind of old school almost. It's very much like the Narangi from OO Brewing, the original GBG Beer Week from Stigberry. It's very much kind of like this, just like a double IPA version. That's for those of you watching in Europe. That's a good point of reference, I guess. But yeah, for me overall with this style, very smooth and very bready leaning New England IPA for me. But you get a lot of the oats. I think the further you go into the aftertaste with this one, and that front half of the middle third of your palate, it's very, very much oaty leaning. You really get quite a bit of smoothness out of this beer the further that you go into the aftertaste with it. So yeah, very smooth New England double. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there is a good wee touch of earthiness out of this one. As you move further forward along the sides of the palate, you can feel that it develops a little bit more of a kind of floral aromaticity. It's almost a little touch spicy actually, which makes me wonder, have they used a wee bit of Columbus in here as a bittering hop? But in fairness, you know, we say that if they have used Simcoe in here, if you use Simcoe within the first hour of the boil, you're going to get more of the kind of floral and spicy notes out of it. But normally, of course, we associate Simcoe with a more soft, kind of passion fruity, almost creamy passion fruity type note. But if you use that as an early addition hop, it gets very, very bitter. It's got quite a big spiciness to it. It's a very interesting hop, that. So yeah, either there is Simcoe in this and they've used it a bit earlier in the boil, I think, or they've got a bit of Columbus in here as a bittering hop. The spiciness that you get with this one is quite nice, although it does evolve to be a little bit more aromatic rather than anything the further that you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, round the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and grassy. But yeah, the green side of the hops for me, it's actually very well balanced between being grassy and a bit more big and floral and aromatic actually. I do like that about this beer. Yeah, this one for me is really solid in that sense too. Stupidly drinkable, it really is. But yeah, on the front third of the tongue then, let's focus on the fruity side of this beer. Yeah, on the fruity side of on the front third of your tongue, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So if you go to the back of that front third of your tongue, you will get the more pungent passion fruity notes out of the beer. And yeah, I think I'm tempted to say Simcoe in this one. Simcoe and maybe a little bit of Mosaic. I think I've got a feeling that that's what's in here. The fruit, it doesn't strike me so much as having the complexity of Citra, but yeah, nice little bit of a kind of more pungent passion fruity note at the back of that front third of your tongue. As you move forward, gets a little bit more smooth and mango-like. Then you start to get a few more kind of papaya, apricot-y type flavours out of this one, the lighter tropical fruits. And then on the front little tip of the tongue, there is almost a wee touch. There is just a wee touch of a kind of more oily tangerine orange coming out of this one, but it's quite minimal actually. I'm doubting again whether there's mosaic in this one. As I say, I like playing guess the hops with these beers, but yeah, there is just a wee touch of an orangey character on that front tip of the tongue there, which is interesting. Yeah, you will feel on the kind of tip of the tongue, it just almost gets a little bit more oily, just behind that very front tip of your palate is a little bit more oily, and the beer gets a little bit more orangey. But I think it's fair to say with this one, the fruits really lean more towards the kind of tropical end of the spectrum, the kind of soft tropical end. But yeah, the further you go into the aftertaste, you do get a few more, you do get a little bit more of the kind of pungency of the passion fruit coming out of this one, which is quite nice actually. I do like how this goes together. So yeah, it gets a thumbs up from me, this one. I think the further you go into the aftertaste with this one, you get a bit more of the spiciness and a bit more of the aromaticity coming out. You get a bit more of the kind of passion fruity note in there, and you do get a few more of the kind of bitey notes of the wheat actually. I do like how that goes together. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer for me is really nice. But yeah, I think it's fair to describe this one. I think this beer has been around for a good couple of years now actually. So yeah, this one, it's definitely a more bready, oaty leaning New England IPA. I find this one very bready compared to some of the other ones that I've had in recent times, but I can see why. I can see exactly why this beer is very highly rated. This is the sort of thing that, you know, when it would have appeared on the scene, people would have been like, you know, damn, this is crazy. So yeah, I can see why this beer is very highly regarded over there in New England. And you know, for me again, it's very comforting to see that our local breweries here in Scandinavia, and then some of the ones back in Scotland as well, can produce beers on the same standard as this. Very, very cool. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, so I would describe this beer, yeah, this beer for me, it's kind of bottom end of full bodied. I think it's kind of at that sort of end. The carbonation is very smooth in this one. I find this beer really nice, and it has a really kind of clean vibe to it actually. I really find that. But like I said in some of the other, I think it was in the last review I did from the States, you know, as I said with that one, the monkish beer, I actually find the American beers are a little bit lighter in their mouthfeel than the European ones are. In Scandinavia they love, oh yeah, Scandinavia in particular, we probably should be more precise with that. I think in Scandinavia they love a very, very thick mouthfeel, and you get that in abundance with the Scandinavian beers. So for me, this one's a little bit lighter, and I think generally speaking, I find American beers a little bit lighter in the mouthfeels than the Scandinavian ones. So yeah, for me, this one has a very clean vibe actually. It has a very, very clean, drinkable type vibe to it. But in terms of the bitterness and things like that, I think this beer sort of sits around 40, maybe 50 IBUs at a push. I think it probably is more likely, I think it is more likely around 40. I don't find this one overly bitter at all, but I think, yeah, 50 would be the maximum, I think. But no, having said that, I probably will be wrong. Knowing now that I've planted my flag, I probably will be wrong in that. But I think about somewhere between 40 and 50 IBUs for this one, and it is a bit more bitter than some of the other Treehouse ones that I've had before. And that's just because it's more alcoholic, of course. But yeah, the malt base in this one for me, lovely and smooth, and that's, you know, what I'm accustomed to. I always associate Treehouse with the smoother, kind of creamier leaning New Englands. But yeah, the fruitiness that you get out of this one is lovely and juicy. Not the most oily of fruit, yeah, more of a kind of juicy type fruity character that you get out of this one. There is a wee bit of zest as well, I think, around the front edge of the tongue when you get the orangey notes, the tangerine oranges mixing in with the kind of grassy esters on the front edge of the tongue. It does have just a little bit of a zestiness to it as well. But yeah, again, a very, very nice beer from Treehouse Brewing Company, and I have very much enjoyed reviewing this one for you. Definitely cool to come and try one of their most well regarded beers from what I gather. So yeah, let's round off the review there. Once again, a massive thank you to Chris for making this review possible. It's been really interesting to come back and try this one, because you know, it's been a year since I had my last Treehouse beers, and I think the style, even in that short time, as I said, the style that we get, the New England IPAs that we get over here have evolved quite a little bit and become a bit more oily and brown sugary. So it's interesting to go back to this one as a kind of baseline and see what it's like, and it just kind of shows you how much the style, even a little sub-style, can evolve in the space of just a year. That's what this beer really highlights for me. But yeah, this is a really very, very nice New England IPA. That's what you expect from Treehouse, and I can see why this one is very highly rated. To me, this is a really nice kind of old school, bready, smooth New England IPA. So yeah, if you get the chance to try some of these Treehouse beers, you certainly won't regret it. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Till the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Treehouse. We will return to these guys very soon, actually, because Chris did send me another beer, which I think will be very, very interesting. I'm really curious about the other one that he sent me. So yeah, you'll see that reviewed pretty soon, and I'm sure next year, COVID permitting, I will go to one of the Treehouse locations, probably the original one. I'll see. Well, we'll see what one's closest, but we will go to one of the Treehouse locations and film an out and about thing and get some of the other Treehouse beers that I've not had before and review those for you on the channel. But yeah, this one should be pretty damn cool. But yeah, really enjoyed reviewing this one for you. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Treehouse. Tell me which location you would recommend from these guys as well. And yeah, hopefully we can get a few more of these Treehouse beers reviewed at some point fairly soon. But yeah, thank you again for watching my reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will catch you guys very soon. This was the King Julius, an 8.2% New England double IPA from Treehouse Brewing Company, one of the iconic American New England IPA breweries over in Massachusetts in New England in America. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.